Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the feature race at Monmouth Park on Sunday. It's the My Frenchman, 3-year-olds going 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 100 grand. Let's take a look at this field. We are hoping it stays on the turf. You never know with the weather. This week in the Northeast, the 9 Super Chow has entered main track only. He'd be a strong contender, obviously, if this race is washed off of the turf, but pretty competitive morning line with the 3 is Sir Lancelot, the tepid 5-2 favorite, despite trying turf for the first time.
Yeah, we'll see how the wagering all plays out. Then I'm not sure if I can really get behind this morning line, but we'll see. It's just it's a kind of a confusing race because there's a lot of speed in here, and half the field has never run on turf before.
First, let's look at the Timeform US pace projector. Extendo, very fast. Sir Lancelot, very fast. Sweet Cherry Pie, very fast. The question is, will they be very fast on turf? A horse like the 4 Crispy Cat, we know he has tactical speed on the lawn.
Yeah, it feels like the 4 is could get the right trip either way here. He can go forward, but if the pace is too fast, he's comfortable sitting just off it. But hard to argue with the pace projector, at least on what these horses have done on the track so far, Dan. There's a lot of speed in the race.
Lamb will watch Extendo's race at Gulfstream over the Tapeta, and he has one way to go, and I think he's got to go from the inside post under Trevor McCarthy. Made the lead here rather easily against the Florida Breds. He goes on his way. It's just whether he can transfer this sort of form on the turf. The one start, he got caught up in a pace battle and he tired, and Timeform US believes he could get caught up in a pace battle here.
Yeah, if the pace projector is right, it's a real problem for this horse. It feels like that. He's won 3 times already. He got loose on the lead at all 3 of those races. Twice he's had to contest things up front, and he was not good at either of those races. That only turf start in the Roar, that was a terrible performance. He did get hooked up on the pace in there, but the horse he was hooked up with won the race. The horse that was sitting right off of them ran second by a nose, and one of the other speeds in the race totally missed the break in there. And wound up finishing third. I don't know. I have real questions about this horse, and the 3-1 morning line is not a great price.
If there's a barbecue up front, maybe the 2 Freedom Road can take advantage and rally from off of the pace. You have to wonder if 5.5 furlongs is a bit sharp. He's been competing at slightly longer distances. He was third in an off-turf 5.5 feet, 2 starts back. From a turf pedigree standpoint, he's by Malibu Moon. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't love the Malibu Moons on the grass, but I guess they can handle it. The Dam did win stakes races on both turf and dirt sprinting. So, I guess there's a little pedigree here. His dirt form is okay, and he might really fall into a trip here. I mean, if there is a fast pace in front of him, he'll run late.
Sir Lancelot's first 2 starts as a 2-year-old were very, very impressive. He won by the length of the stretch in his debut on dirt at Delaware. He won by the length of the stretch in a stakes race on the Tapeta at Presque Isle Downs. And then he got tired, favored against Super Chow in his final start. Now he has to deal with the surface switch. Now he has to deal with a long layoff and the possibility of another pace battle. He did show a lot of ability. I'm just not sure I want to take 5-2 with all of those factors perhaps working against him.
I mean, I felt the same way about him, Dan. I don't really have too much to add to that. He looked really good in his races as a 2-year-old. I suspect he has enough pedigree to handle the turf in here. I don't think a fast pace is going to do him any favors in this race, Dan. He's got to go short off the layoff, and he's going to have to deal with some other fast horses, so he better be fit.
Crispy Cat, the number 4, is already a stakes winner on the turf. He won 3 starts back at Gulfstream Park and then was part of the little Churchill Downs 3-year-old turf sprint series in his last 2. And while many of those horses decided to go to Saratoga for the quick call on Sunday, Crispy Cat finds an easier spot at Monmouth.
Yeah, this probably is an easier spot for him. Overall, his form's just really hard to knock. I mean, it's been a long time since he's, really run a fast race, and he was pretty good in some top races as a 2-year-old over in England. He's run okay over here. He's got the right running style for this race. He's dropping out of some tougher spots. I mean, it's easy to make a case for him, Dan. We'll see what kind of price he is.
Big price on the 5, Playground Legend, who's locally based at Monmouth and is coming in off of a game victory, going this distance in a maiden special weight. He was basically involved on the lead from the start. He's going to face a lot of pressure here in the stretch, and he's just going to keep on grinding and just get his nose down in the nick of time. He's up in class, but this was a promising performance.
Yeah, he ran pretty well in here. I didn't love his turf debut, but that was off the layoff, and he just sort of kind of went one pace through the lane after a good trip, but he certainly took a step forward last time. He was dead game to win that race. And I guess it's a good sign for him, Dan. He did it on the lead last time, but he sat really comfortably off the layoff 2 back and then made a run through the stretch. That would work here.
Sweet Cherry Pie has been facing some good 3-year-olds on the dirt in Kentucky. Now he's going to try turf for the first time. I really like the Twirling Candies on the turf, and this dam is by Kitten's Joy, so you have to figure he's bred for it.
Yeah, he's got turf pedigree. He's got really, really strong dirt form, and he's got speed, but it doesn't really look like he needs the lead. He goes out for a trainer who does really, really good work with turf sprinters too. It feels like there's a lot pointing you to this horse in here, Dan. Obviously, the surface switch has to be a question if he takes a lot of money in here, which I guess is possible. But I feel like he's a pretty strong contender in this race.
The 7 Smooth Flying Mike, the beaten favorite in his last 2 starts on dirt. He has shown speed in both of those races. 2 back at Belmont. Maybe he found the mile just a little bit too far. Now he tries turf for the first time. Not a big fan of the honor codes on the grass.
Yeah, I didn't really love this horse's pedigree to make this surface, which I kind of understand why they're doing it. And I do think a shorter distance could be really good for this horse. I just don't really love his pedigree.
Maybe Chiringo's the closer to bet if this pace just really heats up. He was 3rd in the Palisades 2 starts back at Keeneland. Gaslight Dancer, the winner of that race, got a very good trip. Chiringo had to rally from way, way out of it. And last time out in the William Walker, again, it was a situation. This horse is never great from the gate, so he's always at the mercy of pace luck. He might get it here.
Yeah, he might catch some pace to run into here. He didn't really run that well in his most recent start. 2 back, it's probably the best race he's ever run. Things really worked to his advantage that day, but it was also a much tougher field than this one.
And while I'm not Super Chow's biggest fan, if this race is washed off of the turf, he's going to be very, very tough to beat. He's faced some talented 3-year-old sprinters on the dirt this year. Top pick time for the My Frenchman. We're hoping it stays on the turf. Mike's going with Sweet Cherry Pie. If it's washed off, he's got good dirt form. He does have a lot of turf pedigree. And I just think he could sit the right trip, maybe in the 2nd or 3rd flight or so off that hot pace.
Yeah, I just feel like he has some talent, Dan. I don't really mind him switching surfaces here. I think he's got enough pedigree for it. It just feels like they found a good spot for him. And you're right. If this race comes off the turf, I mean, why can't he be tough in this race anyway?
I'm going to give Extendo one more chance, even though his lone turf race wasn't very good. I want him to go and let these other speeds take a seat, and maybe he'll take them on a merry chase. 6-4-3-1 for Mike, 1-3-4-6 for me. The My Frenchman's the feature at Monmouth on Sunday. Best of luck.